You can think of the armature for your paper mache sculpture as the skeleton. You are going to start by using paper towel tubes. I have a lot of different paper towel tube sizes. What you need to do is pick the one that best works for your animal sketch. No matter what animal you started out with, everyone will start out using a paper towel tube. Think of the paper towel tube like the torso of your animal. And then we're going to use wire to create the head, a tail if you're adding a tail, and the legs. Before you cut the wire, make sure to check how long that you want it to be. You want your wire to go through the paper towel tube and out the other side as long as you want your neck and tail of your animal to be. So think about that before you make the cut. You have these pliers at your table. These pliers have a wire cutter right above that pivot point there. So when you go to cut the wire, you will place the wire right on the little wire cutter pincher area. And then you close down tightly and it cuts the wire. Now put that piece of wire to the side for now, because now we're going to cut the wire for the legs of the sculpture. Now my alebrije is a sculpture of a turtle with 4 legs. Yours might have more or less than 4 legs. But what you're going to do is you're going to mark where the legs are going to come out of the torso. I'm just going to do that with a pencil. And then you're going to use a nail to poke through those marks. And then you will have a wire that goes through the cardboard and out the other side. So I'm going to take the nail, push it through, keeping my other fingers away to make sure I don't poke myself, and poke all 4 of those holes. Now I know that I only have 4 legs, but I really only need 2 wires. I want 2 wires that are going to go through those holes and out the other side. And doing that will help hold the legs in place. So if you have 6 legs, you need 3 wires. If all of your legs are the same size, you don't have to measure out each wire. You can just take your first one and match it up with the wire again, and then cut where the end is. Now you need to take your wire and you're going to poke it through one side and then come out through the other hole. If you bend that wire down, now that makes your 2 legs. And you repeat with your other set of legs. Now I'm going to take that long wire that we first cut for our head and our tail that goes through the body, and I'm going to place it through the middle of the paper towel roll. And then I'm going to use tape to hold all of those in place. I'm going to put that tape kind of around like a band-aid, those leg wires, to hold it in place. It doesn't really have to be perfect because remember, this is going to be covered with paper mache anyway. It just has to be kind of sturdy. I'm also going to take some tape and wrap those around the leg wires to help hold those in place as well. Here is where you will start to see your animal sculpture to start to take shape. It's starting to look like some type of body with legs and something of a neck and a head and a tail. Remember to think of this part as like the skeleton of your animal. The muscles and the skin, that will come later. To make this skeleton more sturdy, we're going to start with taking some paper and balling it up and stuffing it in the inside of that paper towel tube. That will make it a lot stronger, especially when we start bending the wire to form the shapes and wrapping paper around the wire. Don't skip this step because it makes for a lot stronger sculpture. Now that your very basic skeleton is done, it's time to form the details of your alebrije. This is where your reference photo is really going to come in handy. So I'm going to start by trying to form the shape of the shell right on top of that paper towel tube. To do that, I'm going to use paper, and then we might also use some plastic bags. Those work really well for that as well. And then we're going to take that paper and ball it up and kind of crumple it and shape it like it's clay almost, and then attach it using tape. There is no true right or wrong way to form a sculpture using paper and paper mache. This is really just like a trial and error thing. Try your best to form the shape of your animal with that crumpled paper. You might have to roll up some paper. You might have to fold paper into different shapes. It's really kind of an exploratory medium. You really have to use your creative thinking skills in order to form the shape of your alebrije animal that you're going for. One thing I would like to note is you really don't have to use a ton of tape. See, I only wrap it around like one time whenever I add something to it. This is going to be covered with paper mache, which is paper dipped in like a glue mixture. So you do not have to make like a tape mummy of your sculpture in order for it to stay down. When you go to make the legs of your animal are not just going to be the wire sticks sticking out. You also need to wrap the paper around that. I kind of make like a flatter paper ball and then kind of squish it around the wire and then use the tape as like a wrap to wrap it around and stick it into place. Make sure that you're also taking the tape and attaching the legs to the rest of the sculpture like a tape band-aid every time you add an appendage. Because if all you do is wrap the tape around just the paper, that will fall right off the wire. Now I'm going to make the head very similar to the way that I made the legs. I bent my wire down so it's kind of like a loop, and then I am wrapping the paper around that in like a ball, and then I'm going to use the tape to wrap around it and hold it into place. You would do this same technique if you were making a tail or any other thing that you're adding that grows off of your alebrije. Remember to always attach with a piece of tape from that appendage to the rest of the body. If your alebrije has things growing off of it like wings or spikes or horns or talons or antlers, it might be a good idea to make those things with cardboard instead of the folded newspaper. So I used my Chromebook to look up a reference photo of these monarch butterfly wings that I want to add to my alebrije. I'm going to draw those wings right on the edge of my cardboard. That will make it a lot easier for me to cut out. If you draw something in the middle of the cardboard, then you have to get your scissors to get to the middle of the cardboard, and that's kind of annoying. So always drawing things on the edge of cardboard will make it a lot easier on yourself later. Now here's a little pro tip. Instead of trying to draw a second wing exactly like you drew the first one, just trace your first wing. That way you have two even wings and it saves you some time. Now that my wings are cut out, we need a way for them to attach to your alebrije. This is the way that I'm going to do it. I'm going to cut out 4 strips on my cardboard that have a bend in the middle. And then I'm going to tape those strips down to my wing. And that will give me 2 attachment points on each wing that I can tape to my alebrije. This is kind of another instance where you just have to use your creative thinking skills to really problem solve and figure out how to build this thing. Just because I am doing it this way does not mean that you have to make your wings or your talons or your spikes, however you're adding, exactly this way too. You figure out what works best for your sculpture. Then when the base is done, the next step is to add paper mache.